As the Ondo State gubernatorial election builds up to November 16, 2024, the political arena is witnessing an intense, heightened momentum, with key players positioning themselves for a crucial contest. Agboola Ajayi of the PDP is set to challenge incumbent Lucky of the APC in what promises to be a closely watched race. Both candidates bring unique strengths and significant support from their respective parties, setting the stage for a dynamic electoral tussle. On Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue, we recognize the stakes are high for the future governance of the Sunshine State, Ondo, party strategies, voter engagement, and key issues which will play crucial roles in shaping the election narrative as the day draws nearer. I'm Ondo Ajayi, like I said. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across various social media platforms. You're welcome back to the show. The show is Viewpoints, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. Moving on, regarding the building up concerning the Ondo 2024 election, 17 political parties and their governorship candidates within Ondo State have signed a peace accord ahead of the gubernatorial election for next Saturday. If we might recall, since 1999, the peace accord has been something which has been set up by the National Peace Accord Committee, led by former military head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar. Now, the question we want to be asking is, what measures do we think out there, not my opinion here solely, will we actually apply regarding the political parties and their candidates they can actually take? What measures would they adopt, political parties and candidates, to ensure principles of the peace accord and democracy are actually upheld throughout the electoral process within Ondo State as it affects men, women, and children, especially in the context of the signed peace accord? Might we recall in Ondo State, the PDP refused to ink down or endorse the peace agreement. I want to believe definitely it must have been a setback for them not to grasp the #1 seat within Ondo State. Now, when we hear peace, the peace accord, the essence is for people to come together to make sure there's harmony within the electoral cycle, within the stipulated time in which the election hours are actually going to take place. Now, who are the main gladiators or political gladiators who are actually going to be in the arena engaging in the whole political race? We're talking about the PDP and the APC political parties which are here now. How would they actually affect the men and the women and the children? Because they apparently, as the electorate, are the grass here, because two elephants are actually locking horns, or I'll rather say locking tusk at the end of the day. But we need to know at the end of the day whether Agboola, who is representing the PDP, or probably Lucky, who is representing the APC, will actually stick to their terms of accord, signing the peace agreement, which I want to believe, not leaving out other political parties. Their agents and also other stalwarts hope they will not also engage people also in engaging anomalies or fisticuffs in the political arena. Okay, moving on, ahead of the next Saturday's governorship election in Ondo State, a leading selection of a monitoring group, Yaga Africa, has raised concerns and alarms that political parties have resorted to inducing voters with cash gifts and food items. It's common now that the bourgeoisie actually have been doling out political palliatives, let me say, to cushion the effects of voters. And if I may borrow some words from a show which I was hosted on, they're actually selling off their birthright for the next 4 years. Now, it is said that they actually indulged in this inducement to actually secure their support ahead of the next Saturday's gubernatorial elections within the state. This is according to Head of Knowledge, Management and Learning of Yaga Africa, Safia Bichi. She said this while presenting the group's pre-election assessment report at the signing of the peace accord in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Now, we might be asking out there, it's an open-ended question, what strategies can actually be implemented to effectively fight against voter inducement and secure fair electoral process in Ondo State, particularly in light of reported distribution of cash gifts and food items? It's a food for thought. We need to wine and dine about this within our brains, because by the time we look at it, those majority of those in the rural areas are actually vulnerable, particularly in economic reading crisis of this era. People who can't even afford 3 square meals or 2 square meals, or maybe afford to get maybe appetizers or maybe desserts at the end of the day, or take care or vouch for basic necessities of life such as food, shelter, and clothing. It's a case of giving people fish instead of giving them the hook to fetch fish. And that is exactly what Safia Beach is actually stating here, because I don't think a bag of rice can actually last the next 4 weeks, talk less much more the next 4 years, because people are easily taken away or taken aback by people are easily induced with issues of when people are actually vulnerable. It's a case of people not knowing what to do and not being able to take their stance. Why? Because they're not knowledgeable concerning some issues or their rights. A case whereby individuals are being induced. Why? Because they have to secure their pockets at the end of the day and not necessarily secure the interests of the people. It calls for serious concern, actually. Why? Because they make sure the poor stay poor so that they are actually taken advantage of to selfish interests. And that's the way of the bourgeoisie, or what I say, the political elites, to make sure they maintain the status quo. Or I would say the system or instruments in place that actually maintain the fact that they should actually be worshipped, whereby they have to dole out every 4 years. But we should be looking at long-term effects and not short-term effects. And this is why people need to be actually sensitized, not only by INEC alone, by also those who are actually representing their constituency, if they will actually be sincere enough. It's another election period, and it's a build-up for the Ondo State elections. Join me in the next phase as we indulge, or engage rather, Mrs. Catherine Ogunjebi of the International Federation for Women in Law. You're welcome back to the show. The show is Viewpoints, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. Ab initio, I mentioned that in the first phase, we will be engaging Mrs. Catherine Ogunjebi, Chairperson of the International Federation for Women in Law, Ondo State Chapter. You're welcome to the show, Madam Catherine. Now, ahead of the Ondo State gubernatorial election next Saturday, INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu has declared the Commission's full readiness to conduct a free, fair, and credible election. Yakubu gave his assurance during a stakeholders meeting with all 17 governorship candidates, I beg your pardon. He confirmed that the Commission will deploy BVA machines for voters' accreditation at polling units and for uploading results in INEC's results viewing portal, also known as the IREV. Now, what do you consider are the most crucial matters for ensuring a free and fair election in Ondo State, and how can stakeholders, including INEC and security agencies, effectively collaborate to uphold these standards, influencing the overall integrity of the electoral process?
Interestingly, if they don't come out, then the integrity of the system or the process will be questioned. So it's very important that they come out to vote, and it's important that they are encouraged to come out to vote. And how do you do this? INEC should also be ready to arrive at polling units on time. They are to train their staff, which we believe they have already done, but their staff too should engage civilly and ensure that none of their actions likely lead to violence on the election day. Because, of course, if you have violence or the likelihood of violence, women as voters will not come out, especially for the safety of their own children, who may not be voters but will be affected by whatever outcome if violence is involved. So on the whole, I would say is continuous voter engagement to ensure that voters turn out for the elections. It will be the best way of declaring and showing that there's an integrity in the process. You know, you cannot have filling of ballot boxes where all the voters are out to vote and they are all present. It will be difficult to steal ballot boxes. It will be difficult to for any particular party to foment trouble. So it's crucial that voters turn out actually, because their turnout will be a change in the game of what we have had in the past.
Okay, but you will agree that this election now, talking about fairness, credibility, and also concerns on the part of the voters, you will agree that INEC is actually going through an integrity test here, judging from the way the way the electorate or voters have been dissatisfied concerning previous elections. Don't you feel a sense of voter apathy going to take place in these off-cycle elections?
And of course, I would say that currently we are seeing the high likelihood of voter apathy already. In fact, we've been engaging women most especially to ensure that they come out to take part in the elections because a lot of them seem to be really uninterested. However, like I said, we'll continue to engage people because really election and electioneering is about interest. So we must continue to engage people. We must continue to engage them to see that they really come out to vote, not just because they like it or they don't like it, but because that is exactly what we all need in order to have a turnaround in the system.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on a conclusive note, INEC Chief Mahmoud Yakubu has actually said the commission has actually accredited 111 domestic and international observers. Now, these are people who actually need to report on a neutral note regarding the happenings concerning the elections. And they will also deploy 3,554 organizations for the Ondo governorship elections. How do you think the involvement of diverse range of stakeholders, these are domestic and international observers, likewise the media organizations and political parties, will actually influence the credibility and outcome of these elections, particularly the media, because what the media reports is what will sink in to the electorate and, of course, the whole country at large?
Well, the observers may not necessarily affect what the election looks like. The only thing is that it gives voters a sense of belonging and then a freedom to say that they can come out to vote because they are sure that there are people who are monitoring and observing the election. So yes, it will play a part in the integrity, and I would say it's a positive note that we have more observers this time monitoring the election, but you know it is because it's an off-cycle election. Ordinarily, we wouldn't have so much concentration in the state. Assuming it was a general election within the country at large. So it's a good one, and we are hoping that the observers will also be able to report incidents exactly the way it happens, and most importantly, without putting their lives at risk, because the job is to observe, not to essentially put themselves in danger.
Okay. I want to say a big thank you for making our time to join us on the show today from your busy schedule, Madam Catherine. I want to believe you should have a smooth day running. Likewise.
Yes, thank you so much. It's my pleasure being here for this few minutes.
Okay. I want to believe subsequently you should join us in subsequent episodes.
Yeah, I believe so. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, that was Mrs. Catherine Ogunjebi, Chairperson, International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, Ondo State Chapter. Well, the countdown to the Ondo State gubernatorial elections, November 16, is underway, and the race is shaping up with candidates actively campaigning and engaging with the electorate. We will see the coming days, which will actually be critical for shaping the political future of Ondo State. The show has been Viewpoints, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm Odiawa AI. Thanks for watching.